All right, why don't we start to recollect ourselves before we get into, and I realize that time is a wasted, wow. Do we only get to be in here until 4? Can't this be a 5-hour class? I would encourage you, I think it's probably more important to take advantage of the ability to look at this junk that I've brought than to do the little exercises. So in the next like 10 minutes or so before we get into an exercise, I'm going to talk a little bit, but then I'd encourage you to come and look at this stuff because I don't think you can, I was trying to lead Richard there, but he doesn't want to go there about embodiment and understanding. But there's something, so here is the pyramid complex at Giza. Here is Rome. There's a circle here, which is the Colosseum. And there's another one for here's St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. The pyramid complex, a pyramid is about the same size as the Colosseum or St. Peter's Square. There's some, just understanding the scale of things that we have done. If you've been to the one, to be able to extrapolate to the other, I think is remarkable. One that I love is, here's New York City, or Manhattan rather, in all of its glory. Here's Amsterdam. Below Canal Street in New York City used to be New Amsterdam. If you put it into position and look at sort of the size of the streets, if you've been to some of the older parts of Lower Manhattan and the way that the street pattern works, the ability to see even inheritance of patterns in the built environment with this tool is remarkable. It was extended into gardens. So there's a 40 gardens version of this that was done, I think, after Richard had left, but the pattern works. And one of the most telling examples of information architecture, I have 2 of them for you to look at. One is this 1974 paperback version of this 1963 project, both by Werman. Because all 1,500 copies of this got snapped up and they were hard to get, a cheap paperback version with all of the same plates. There's no information in this thing other than a plastic Mylar grid that you can put over them. Only one of my copies of this has the Mylar grid. I'm collecting whatever ones I can through the rare book market. Same information, but because this is codex, you can't get at it. You can't feel, and that's what I was trying to get him into, is this visceral information. That understanding is visceral. It's this whole thing. It's not the brain and the jar and the light bulb. I think all of the cartoons we have for how this works are wrong. It's the whole body's sense of understanding. And by physically using that little map of Amsterdam and putting it on the big map of Manhattan, having been to both places, I understand. What a feeling that you understand, and how piss poor this is with all the same information. This is getting at what we were talking about last week with medium and content, and how the medium is going to do some things that the content isn't doing. And this is a teachable moment to look at this and try to understand this, and then look at these, and it's like, it's not the same thing. The organization of information is creating new information right before our eyes. Another example that I'm glad to be able to show you, again through the rare book market. I started out with the intent to study James Joyce and the physicality of Ulysses. I thought that's what I was going to do with my life. And other things happened, but I'm still interested in it, and I think Ulysses is an example of information architecture, a wonderful example of information architecture. And so here is a facsimile of the first edition of Ulysses, printed under very extreme conditions of censorship at the time in France. And understanding the structure of this book is something that academics do endlessly, and it's pretty boring. But I also have here an art project that I encourage you to just, again, the physicality of this, look at the difference. I have a remote control on the desk, and that's why the picture keeps changing, because I put stuff on it. Right, sorry. This is an art project that took the text of the first edition of Ulysses and rearranged it into alphabetical order. It's amazing. It's truly amazing where you can see, I just turned to the page of fuck and fucking. Fuck, fuck, fucked, fucked, fucker, fuckers, fucking, fuck, fucking, 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 fuddled, fuel, fuel, fuel. Just as a study of words and the patterns that are, how is this? This is the same content. This is the same content. And how different it is when you organize, when you change the architecture of the information. This is a cartoon example, but please have a look at this as well. Okay, so for, let's say, until the big hand is on the 8, feel free to come down here and look at some things. And then when the big hand is on the 8, let's do one thing first, which is let's number into, how many people do we think we have here today? What would you guess? 50? Let's count to 10.